So after many years, probably about a good 10 years into my career, a colleague of mine called me, Douglas Cleek. We went to college together, and he said, "Hey, we're at the top of our careers. I'd like to start a business with you." I said, "Fine." So we got together, and we started a company called K2 Design. And when we opened our offices, it was just him and I, and we had our Mac PCs at the time. And they didn't even have Power Macs at the time. These were like 2 CIs. And I was sitting there, and we were in a 15 by 20 office that we renovated on our own. And we would collect money here and there to pay the bills. And we started to run this little office. Well, from that moment on, because I had been freelance all these years, Doug had been on a staff job, I would sit down and have staff meetings, just him and I, staff meetings. And we would go through, well, how do you envision this company in 3 months? How do you envision this company in 5 months? How do you envision this company for the... And then we would sit and close our eyes, visualize it, and then we'd write it down. Now, I know he thought this was a little weird, but we didn't have anybody supporting us financially. We could not get loans because we were such a new company. We went to every bank in the city. And we were down on 11th and Broadway, so we did all the banks that were down there. It was like Chemical, Citibank, and they all kind of slammed the door in our face. And but we would get a job and work on it. And some of our 2 biggest accounts in the beginning were like American Express Publishing. You know, we had top-level clients right away. Banco Popular, they hired us, and that was it. That first job with them was a $200,000 job. So it was, we were doing okay, but there's no way we were in the big leagues. And so I kept doing these manifestation techniques. Once a month, we'd sit down and go through this. And we added on some friends who would help us out. And all of a sudden, things started to take off. We got a knock on the door. Somebody wanted us to design an interface. An article in the newspaper was talking about the Internet. And Doug came in and he was like, you know, we got to be an Internet company. That's the future. And I was kind of resistant, but I went with the flow of what was going on. And that was another thing I started to learn. Don't be rigid with the way I want things to turn out. I went with the flow of what was happening in the company. And we brought on a CEO, somebody who went to the Wharton School of Business, and it turned out his wife worked right across the hall from us. She knocked on the door and she goes, "You got to meet my fiancé. We're getting married Saturday. Can he come by the following Saturday?" I said, "Sure." He walked in. He saw what we were doing. He goes, "I'd like to join you guys." That was David Setner. He started selling what we were doing. They went to, David and Doug one night went to a forum where people were talking about interactive work and software and publishing, and they met Matt DeGannon there, and he became our president as well. So this band of 4 guys got together, and we started bringing on staff, and we got some of the brightest people in the industry that were just starting out, you know, young 20-somethings that were right out of college, maybe 2-3 years. They were passionate about working with us. And from the time we opened our doors that first day to 3 years later, we eventually went public. We raised capital, $1 million of private placement financing, allowed us to expand. We had 55 employees. At that point, we moved down to 55 Broad Street, the Rudin building there, the New York Technology Center, and we went public in '96 and raised over $6 million on the public market. Wow. So at that point, we had 60 employees. We had 2 offices. We were expanding we had 425% growth rate. And that was, I mean, I'd come in one day and there'd be 15 new people I didn't know. And we had a small company. I mean, when you're under $50 million, that's a small company. But raising $6-7 million, you're still, you know every employee in the company. So I'd be walking down the hall, and all of a sudden I'd see a bunch of people. They didn't know who I was. I didn't know who they. I go to David. I go, who's that? They go, those are all the new hires. I'll meet them at orientation. And one of the books we gave out at orientation was The Pursuit of Wow by Tom Peters. And this was really a book about taking the next step, take initiative. What really is the main thing that makes you go buy a product from a company? What is the thing that makes you want to go to Starbucks every day? We don't always ask ourselves those questions, but this was like the pursuit of wow. And we encouraged each and every employee to do that. So we created quite a unique work environment, and I was on the board of directors up until the year 2000, and then I resigned. And I've been starting companies ever since, So I'm on my 8th company now. So
Wow.
it's been interesting ride.